appreciate everybody coming. This is awesome.
All right, good now.
We've got head coach Jim Schlossnagle. Coach, if you can please start with an opening statement, and then we'll go on to questions.
Yeah, despite the weather, super excited getting, 3 days away from first ball game, first road trip, which is always a good experience. I think when guys look back, when you have alumni games and alumni events and you hear baseball players telling stories, they're usually from road trips. So hopefully we'll behave ourselves and be in by curfew. But yeah, it's exciting to get to play, to know you're going to get to play. That's super important, just to know that we're going to be able to get the games in with the roof and the facility there. And the Rangers do such a great job. The Shriners being involved really adds a lot to it. And so we're staying in Fort Worth, which I'm personally super excited for. Going to get to see some friends, see my children. Coach Sarlos at TCU has been kind enough to allow us to go use the batting cages at TCU on Friday morning and kind of get out of the hotel a little bit. So thankful to Coach Sarlos there at TCU and wish them the best of luck in their season opener.
Do you have a set lineup, or are you going to play a lot of people this weekend?
I think we're going to try to win the games. I'm not into exhibitions and just doing things to do things, but I think on this particular team at this moment, the first, I would say 10 to 12-ish position players have really separated themselves from everybody else. And so, at different positions, some of this will depend on Max Ballou's availability and what that looks like for him, which we're learning. We're getting more and more good news every day. But we'll play some different guys. But we're trying to win the games. I mean, this is a huge weekend for us. If it doesn't go well, it doesn't kill you, but certainly you can take a lot of confidence from it if you do well. And non-conference RPI really matters. And again, it's not the end all either way, but it is a great opportunity.
Typical weekend rotation.
Swinging the bat a lot and moving around, as long as he handles it okay.
Mostly flu?
Mostly flu, yeah. I think he should be fine. He's a super tough kid, and if he tells me he's ready to go, he'll be ready to go.
So was this tournament, was it already on the books when you signed on?
Yes.
Okay. And the second question is that, do you want to keep doing this, assuming they keep having it?
Yeah.
To be the
I'm sure
season
they'll.
opener every year? Or?
Yeah, so I would prefer not to do it in the first weekend of the season. I love the tournament setup. I love the challenge of it. I would prefer to do it like the third week, which I believe maybe next year we're in Houston that third week. But it is such an awesome opportunity. You do know you're going to get to play. But to answer your question, yes, it was already on the books. Our opener next year at the University of San Diego, that was already under contract. Del Conte keeping us to a tight budget, so I tried to pay our way out of one of them. Won't say which.
He hired you. So
Yeah. He got a deal on the front end. But no, I'm super thankful for everything. Don't get me in trouble with that.
But if you do this, do you know beforehand who you would play in these type of deals?
No.
Typically no.
No, they tell you a couple years out. I think Coach Pierce probably agreed. It's weird that we're playing in an SEC school in a non-conference game.
Right.
I think Coach Pierce probably agreed to it because we don't play Ole Miss this year in the regular season, so that makes total sense. But yeah, in the future, I think you're at the University of Texas. If we only get 4 non-conference weekends, Texas, the home opener should be here. The opener to me it should be at Dish Falk, and then we'll go on the road the second or third weekend, play at home right before conference play begins, and then go hit that gauntlet.
How excited are you for this with this pairing? You came so close to winning it all last year, and you're taking over a program that hadn't won it since '05. Is this like a stars aligning for you guys?
In this tournament?
No, in this season.
In this season? Oh, man. 2 completely different programs at different stages. When I got to A&M, when I got to TCU, actually very, very similar. When I got to TCU, they had won 36 games the year before and had a lot of older players returning. And that first year, we set a school record of 39 wins. Can you believe that? 39 wins was the school record that year in 2004, and we won a conference tournament, and then get to A&M, and you know, they'd had a rough year the year before. The year before that was COVID, and then had an awesome group of older players, very similar to this core group of players here at Texas, who totally bought in. We had a lot of things go right that season, and we had our best players had great seasons, and we ended up, you know, I think we were preseason picked 13th out of 14 in the SEC and won the SEC West, finished third in Omaha. So could I see something like that happening with this team? For sure. But that team also started out 10-8 and getting ready to play the SEC play, and I felt like we were going to lose 25 games in SEC play. Matter of fact, Nolan Kane told me that. He told me, you're about to go, you just know you're about to go 5-25 in the SEC. That's what we felt like on that night after we lost to Houston. But we went down there to Baton Rouge, won 2 out of 3. Guys got confident, felt good about themselves, and I don't ever underestimate young people. So I have a lot of belief in the core group of players that we inherited here, like the Galvans and the Schuslers and Ballou and Flores and Duplantier, Will Mercer. Like, I mean, there's more than that, but just awesome humans. And but we're going to be challenged, like really like this program has never been challenged before.
Well, along those lines, though, these guys today have talked a lot about how confident they really are in what they can do this year. How long does it take when you're building a program and you start in this process to get those guys into that mental confidence side of all of that and have them really believing in what they can do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just confidence comes from doing it, and you have to go out and do it. You know, it's the chicken or the egg deal. Does the confidence, are you confident before you play the game, or are you only confident when you have success? And so the challenge, I think, is, you know, we call it an opening day mentality. How does every, you know, I'm sure there's some teams in the major leagues that start off knowing they're going to lose 100 games these days, but in college baseball, on opening day, you're like, no one's gone 0 for 4, no one's has a bad ERA. You're super confident, and the challenge of baseball is, can you bring opening day mentality to every day? And why does yesterday's 0 for 4 have to affect today's? And that's easier said than done, but I think that's the challenge in all of baseball, but it's really the challenge in the SEC. Because if you lose the first 2 games, golly, man, just try to grab one on a Sunday. And because if you can come through this thing at or near or above or maybe in the ballpark of a 500 record, I mean, you're setting yourself up. And then if you talk to every SEC coach at the end of the season, they're like, we're prepared for everything. There's no pitcher, there's no atmosphere, and that's why you see so many teams do so well. I mean, the SEC has a lot of the best players, but they're so battle tested. And so I think my challenge as the coach, even for myself, because I'm super competitive too, but at least having been through it for 3 years, it's just, hey man, it's a new day. And because if you've done really well for one day, you better watch out, because you'll get your doors blown in the next day. And so it's just really trying to keep them in the moment and keep them present, because it can snowball on you super fast.
Coach Jim, kind of
Can I
piggybacking off.
dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah.
So that I'm not competitive? A week and a half ago, we talked to Kimball. He says you have him playing first base. I thought for a second, as great as he is as a catcher, you're now expanding his mental thought to probably his most important position, watching that first base guy trying not to steal. How has that elevated the game for him? And is that kind of how you raise the mental thought life of your players? Has it been better
But
than they are?
from a position change?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think Kimball's a really good catcher. Obviously, when you move out of that spot, then there's less to think about. It's like, kind of like a lot of times you'll take an infielder and move him to the outfield, and he starts to swing the bat a little bit better because there's less to think about when you're playing the outfield. You got to pay attention. It can get boring out there, but no, Kimball just loves. It's important for Kimball to be around the baseball. I mean, and I judge a first baseman's defense by the lack of throwing errors of the other infielders, right? If a first baseman can field a ground ball, I mean, we want him to field a ground ball, but all you got to really do is tackle it and flip it to the pitcher most of the time. The key is, how do you play around the base? And when that ball gets thrown on a short hop, that's an error. Can you pick it and keep it from being an error? And so he's worked really, really hard. He's had a history of arm issues, so we need to protect him. Will he catch some this year? I'm sure he will at times. but that's why the development of Chamberlain and service is super important. But Kimball's been through a lot in his career. I was part of recruiting him at TCU. We tried to get him to come to TCU, and then I get to A&M, and we didn't have a spot for him at A&M, and that was a tough conversation. And then we played him last year in the regional, and he hit a homer, and he rounded third base and had a few awesome words to me, which I love. I actually love that. I love Kimball. He's the ultimate competitor. He never takes off a pitch, and so we just have to keep. He's an example. We have to keep those guys healthy because for us to have success, our best players have to be on the field. If you've been around this program with Coach Garrido, you know that, and we've spent more time, effort, and money in developing mental skills than anybody else in the country since 2006 at TCU, A&M, and now here. And I believe that you can't be in control of your performance unless you're in control of yourself. That's why this upcoming tournament's you talk about stepping into deep water. You're going to play in a big league park against great teams on TV, great crowds. And so the challenge, somebody asked me yesterday, what do you want to see out of the weekend besides 3 wins or wins? And it would be just how our players handle adrenaline and adversity, which you face in every baseball game. And you're really going to see it this weekend. And so, we practice those things. We talk about them. We show them videos. Like we evaluate it every day. It's the first thing we work on in the fall, long before swings or pitches or anything else. And so it's that important to us, and they've bought in. Now they have to go put it to practice in the most competitive environment, at least that we'll see.
Jim, your hiring was high profile, chaotic even. You had to put together a staff, and you're going in the portal and trying to finalize a roster. When did things start to feel maybe more normal for you after all of that?
Yeah.
Did they have it all?
Yeah. They started to feel normal when once I'm on the field with the players, then it's awesome. Everything outside of that is just, it's slowed down some, but it's just been super chaotic. And, the one word, I guess my one word for 2024 looking back would be, chaos or drama, whatever. And there was just so much of it, from the middle of June on. And that's, it's a decision I made too. So it's not like, someone held a gun to my head. It was a choice I made, we made as a group, Nolan, myself, Max, and Mike for a couple days, and Chuck. So, but once you get on the field with the players, that's the best. That's the best part of my day. The worst part of my day is leaving here. The best part of my day is coming to the ballpark. And so, once you're on the field, it has always felt normal on the field. It's away from the field that it's not quite there yet.
You talked about the core guys and what they've been able to accomplish up until this point. But where do you look for them as far as the leadership for some of the newer guys and being able to embrace what's going on and what's about to happen?
Just helping them through those tough times. And they've already done that. The first thing they've done is they've established an unbelievable blue-collar work ethic at an incredibly white-collar school. And what I mean by that is it's Texas. Everybody thinks Texas has the most and the grandest of all things in college athletics, which we do have a lot of cool stuff here. But I call it white collar appearance and a blue collar approach. And we have this awesome facility on a day like this where we can still go get work in. And like I said a couple days ago, on a day off, I literally have to take the balls out of the batting cage, because these guys want to be here and want to spend time here and want to be in those cages all the time. And so I think those older players have taught those young players this is what it looks like to work at Texas. This is our standard of how we work. And then now it's going to be, this is our standard on how we act on a road trip. This is going to be our standard of how we act in a dugout. Some of that I will influence, but it's also going to be when A-Rod or Chamberlain or whomever has their first really rough day, hearing it from your coach is one thing, but hearing it from your peer has a lot more weight. And so those guys will do a great job with that.
Jim, just go back to the schedule for 1 second. You said the opener next year is at San Diego. What else is on that trip that's on the books already?
That trip, or just I think we just open. We open at USD. I can say that because we've already signed the contract.
That's a series.
That's a 3-game series that I believe Texas owes, because Texas played USD last year. 3-game series here, and then as of now, we're supposed to go back to the tournament in Houston I just don't know what the name of the new ballpark is.
Jim, after hearing a couple of the guys talk today, it's been a common theme of competition, fun, and allowing room for mistakes.
Yeah.
Why was that kind of the focal point for your staff to set the culture here?
Yeah, I think, when you go through, I mean, they went to a regional last year, so it wasn't a horrible season, I mean, I'd take the 4 seed in Anchorage right now. But I just think, seriously, I'd take it. Wouldn't you? You can't get to Omaha unless you're in a regional, so as of now, I'd take 4 seed in Anchorage and take it from there. But no, I mean, I think, we all learn as we get older, and the one thing I've learned is you got to have empathy for the players, and I fail at that too. I'm super competitive, and the game sure is easy from the dugout. It sure is easy from section 107 or 208 or whatever. The old saying, the further you are away from the field, the more you know. And with the player, man, it's hard. Like, they're the ones in the arena, and I want them to feel supported. I have to hold them accountable to their attitude and their effort. But in terms of support and just knowing, like, you're gonna get punched in the mouth, but that's why we create these mental skills, to give them a process and something tangible to go to so they can get better.
Jim, you mentioned hasn't felt normal off the field, and this may be a bit of a stretch, but your situation created a conversation around college baseball that maybe hasn't ever existed before. In a weird way, is that good that many people were paying attention to a college baseball story?
I think, yes. I wish it wasn't as, I don't know, what word would you use?
Polarizing.
Polarizing, poisonous in some ways. Toxic, I get it. It was fun for you guys, I'm sure. But I didn't make the decision because I was looking to stick it to anybody. I loved it there. I loved it. I loved the 12th man. They were so good to me. A portion of fan is short for fanatic. It's short, and it's okay. But I wasn't trying to make some statement or do anything like that. I just made a career decision that was based on relationships and based on alignment. And it's, I don't believe in better or worse. I just believe in different. Going from TCU to A&M wasn't better or worse. If anything, TCU was in a way better position than Texas A&M at the time. It's just different. And so yeah, it'll probably always be a part of it. But there was I don't have any animosity whatsoever towards Texas A&M, especially General Welsh. He's one of my favorite people I've ever been around.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.